It's about 8:51 on this Tuesday morning, Preston Steve Radio program. We are going to get right to traffic because our guest wants to talk, and he wants to talk now. So let's do it, Kathy. What's going on?
Pennsylvania Turnpike westbound stop traffic between the New Jersey state line and Street Road. An accident blocking the right lane. A disabled tractor trailer. Durham Road between New Falls Road and 413. There's cleanup from the Pennsylvania Turnpike accident. There's debris on the roadway. PA Turnpike westbound jams Willow Grove to Mid-County tolls. The Blue Route northbound, heavy 95 to Route 1 southbound from Germantown Pike to the Schuylkill, and then from Broomall to Media, Schuylkill Expressway eastbound. Jams the Blue Route through to Belmont. An accident just cleared from there on the westbound side from Passyunk to south, the Boulevard to Gladwin, and then from the Blue Route out to 202. 422 eastbound jams 29 to 23, and then in New Jersey, expect delays on the 42 freeway northbound from Coles Road to 295, 55 northbound, heavy
42.
Deptford to the 42 freeway. This traffic report is brought to you by Subway.
Anything clear? Any roads that are clear?
Subway restaurants have tasty food you can feel good about, like their freshly baked bread fortified with calcium and vitamin D. Subway, eat fresh. Visit Subway.com for full nutritional info. And that's your traffic on 93.3 WMMR.
All right,
and the 336 is totally clear. It is a real highway. Come
on in.
Why did you do one that's just like, it's absolutely clear?
Yeah, at 5:30 in the morning.
The voice you are hearing is from a gentleman who has been in a whole bunch of movies and TV shows.
It's either that or a drag queen that's been up all night singing Tie the Yellow Ribbon.
Movies like She's Out of My League, How to Train Your Dragon, Big Hero 6, Cloverfield, shows like Silicon Valley. He's going to be in the new Deadpool. But not only that, he's hilarious as far as the stand-up goes. Please welcome TJ Miller.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
What a terrible, difficult traffic morning it has been. I mean, we got nothing but bad news.
Especially with the rain. It's even worse.
I know. It was raining lightly, and Philadelphia just shuts down.
Seriously.
Well, if it's broad daylight with absolutely not a cloud in the sky, it shuts down. It's one of the nightmarish morning rushes.
Well, it's so funny because we were on the way over here, and your intern, which I think you have 50 to 60 interns.
Yeah, we got a bunch.
There's a lot of slave labor happening.
He was instructed, by the way, not to get too chatty with you. Did he do that?
That is, he said, he goes, now I wasn't supposed to talk to you. Really. He goes, I wasn't supposed to talk to you. They told me, do not talk to you. And then there's this pretty pregnant pause, right? 6 months in, really pregnant pause.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so don't tell him I talked to
him. You were not supposed to not talk to him at all. Just don't be overly chatty, especially because you did just wake up, did you not?
That would be the weirdest, though, if he just got in the car and just was silent.
Right.
Staring ahead.
It's like you're going to Dracula's castle.
I'm like, how's your morning? He's like... I was told not to talk to you. No, he was very nice. We stopped at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, you brought us donuts, by the way. And you pegged one of my favorite donuts, which is the coconut. What is that? What is it?
Toasted
coconut.
Yeah, it's my favorite, too.
And I brought it in here. I want some crazy coconut donuts.
And then
you guys are a crazy program.
I asked you to sign a couple of things for me, which was really nice because I'm a fan and so is my son. And then you asked me to sign one of the donuts, which I did.
Oh, God, this guy and his son. This is the 5th time you've mentioned you have a son. We get it.
All right.
Come in here, he goes, hey, I've got a son. Nice to meet you. Introduces himself. First story's about his son. He mentions his son again. Then he's like, supposed to be sunny today. Enough!
It's a little much.
Toasted coconut. I say to the guy at Dunkin' Donuts, I go, can I have 4 coconut donuts? He goes, toasted? And I was like, yeah. He's like, You could feel him being like, I'm really trying to move the toasted coconuts. Finally, I got somebody to bite this hook.
He won an incentive program.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, when he just moved these. I used to work for years at Dunkin' Donuts, and they would have those.
Did you really?
They would have those because they have to cycle them out. They can only sit on the shelf for like 4 hours. And they got to cycle them through. So they got to, if there's a whole bunch of
4 hour shelf
4 to 5 hours, yeah. So and they actually just they'll throw them in
turning over donuts.
They're just like, it's crazy. So when they know there's an excess of one, they sort of would tell the girls, try to push those donuts.
Yeah.
So
I bought 2 dozen donuts at like 8 o'clock at night one time, and the guy gave me.
That's how every great story begins, by the way.
But the guy gave me 2 extra donuts in each dozen. I was like, this dude likes me. little did I realize that they were closing like in 2 minutes.
Casey, besides that's called the baker's dozen. That's kind of standard procedure that they'll give you 13.
Also like Casey opens the bag. He's like, hold on a second, there's a couple extra donuts. I think this guy likes me. You stick around. You got a cup for water? What's your name? A few extra donuts in here. I'm looking for a friend to eat them with in the parking lot. I used to work at a Radio Shack, you know?
Well, they're gone now.
Since and now extinct, but I was in New York and we saw one. There's still one in New York City.
Yeah.
And it was like seeing Aurora Borealis or something. We really were like, is that a real Radio Shack?
It's a piece of nostalgia almost
really
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, my wife loves batteries, you know, AAA, AA. She's not into those D's though. She doesn't like the D. At least in my experience last 2 months.
What do you use the D
There
for
are
anymore
thousands of people listening to the radio right now are like, why do they bring this loud guy on?
No, you're great.
It's 9 a.m.
We're huge fans. You know, I wanted to ask you, we were talking about bears in the last segment.
No, you were.
We were.
That. Yep.
And
bear
you,
attacks.
correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not have to either screen test or volunteer yourself to test with an actual living bear to get the Yogi Bear movie?
So it's difficult to explain where the irony kind of bleeds into my reality and where the reality becomes comedy and vice versa, and also the inverse. But yeah, so I auditioned for Yogi Bear 3D. They asked me to, just like with Transformers. And when they first asked, I said, what? And for Yogi Bear, I thought it would be funny. So I did the audition, and then I went and I rented a bear, which is a possible thing in Hollywood.
A living bear.
A living, breathing grizzly bear, 600 pounds. And then I did a fake audition with the bear, which is on the internet now. You can Google it. You know, you can search for it on Yahoo, but, you know, this isn't 1998. And
oh my god!
And so I got a real bear, and I did the audition with the bear, and then I sent that to Warner Brothers, and apparently it went to the top of Warner Brothers at the time, Alan Horn.
Wow!
And he watched it, and he doesn't laugh at anything, is what they say. And he didn't laugh at this. What he said was, he said, that's funny. And then they put me in the film. And so, you know, I did that. I did it ironically, but it ended up being the best performance that I've ever had. I'm serious, and I don't know why you're laughing. Steve, sorry. Steve's a square and Preston parties. That's
actually true.
That's what I heard from the intern on the way over.
Yeah.
He was chatting me up the whole time.
Giving up info.
But yeah, so, you know, I did that. And then Transformers, they asked me about that. And they said, well, you know, they're interested in you for Transformers. And I said, well, I already did a movie as a joke. And that was How to Train Your Dragon 2. No, that's a good film. But yeah, and so, you know, I mean, but I did Transformers. I remember a couple times in Transformers, I was like, this is positive. This is Academy Award.
You're thinking award.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Best supporting actor. Just it'd be me and Optimus Prime neck and neck. Can you imagine I win? They cut to him as he loses. He's just too big for the table.
So you're at the Golden Globes. Yeah.
The ramp up.
Golden Globes traditionally has a higher ceiling for those of you in Philadelphia that don't know that inside
For the
baseball.
robots. So you work with Michael Bay on that. I want to ask with that experience, because we met Michael Bay at, was it the Pearl Harbor, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and he seemed like a nice guy, but you hear these horror stories of like on the set where he's like crazy screaming at actors and stuff like that. Was that your experience?
You know, I think it's true. Outside of work, he is really nice. But it's, you know, the way I thought of it was, these are really, really big movies.
Yeah.
You know, these are like 100, 200 million. It's so much money in play. There's such big crews. He has to have, you can't see any equipment because he'll shoot from any angle. He'll stop in the middle of it and go, all right, you know what? We're going to grab this. And it'll be a scene that was supposed to be shot 2 weeks, you know, in the future.
Right.
And he'll shoot it right then and there, and he'll hold the camera. And it's just, you know, he has to have this personality, this bigger than life personality to get everybody to do what needs to be done.
Right.
And he also always comes in under budget. So yeah, it's insanity there. You know, he's saying,
did he yell at you?
Get that truck out of there! What?
Did he yell at you at all?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, you know, he told me a couple of times that he didn't think I was being particularly funny that day.
Really?
Yeah, and then he would cut me out of the film if I didn't start being funny.
Really?
Yeah, and then, you know, it's really easy to be funny when people say that.
So he knows how to get comedy out of someone.
Well, he at least, you know, the fun thing about him is, and look, and all directors yell.
Yeah.
All directors yell. The funny thing about him is he'll yell, and then if you yell back at him, he'll yell back at you, and then you can yell back at him. And then he'll yell at you, and then you just yell at him, and then he says, "Stop wasting our time."
But you go back at him. That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, well, you got it. You have to have some, you know, some semblance of. I kind of became buddies with Mark Wahlberg after that movie, which is a weird situation.
Yeah.
But that was a big part of him too. Is, you know, he does not yell. Mark Wahlberg will look at you in the eyes and make it clear that if you mention the Funky Bunch, you'll be dead in 5 to 7 minutes. I was just friends with him enough. At the end of the movie, I go, "So, Mark, you keep in touch with any of the Funky Bunch?" Yeah, he did not think that was funny. He
didn't like
He looked
that
at me
at
and goes, "No."
We had him in here. I think we actually asked. He's been in a couple of times.
Was he in studio?
He goes out, and he's one of those dudes, and Casey brought it up the last time. He goes out and works it, man. He doesn't. Yeah. He's a guy who deserves every bit of success he has because he never phones it in. But I think he was pretty receptive to the Funky
Well, I mean,
Bunch.
the fact that we've had
a good sense of humor about
we've
it.
had A-list celebrities on our show, but we've had him on. I feel like
Queen Latifah.
Oh my
we
God.
did. She was terrible.
Yeah.
She was
I
terrible
hung up
last
on
time we
her.
had her on.
Oh, she's listening. Relax.
Well, she had. I think she was still in bed. I think she literally just woke up, and it was you know.
Yeah, your intern was chatting me up about that.
No, but we've had Mark Wahlberg on tons and tons of times.
Yeah, and the
He's
last time I
always-
had him on, I just asked him why he always chooses to do radio because a lot of times these, you know, bigger and higher
Blow it off.
Yeah, they don't do it. I'm like, is it in your contract? But I think he understands the power of radio, and you do radio a lot as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if you enjoy this or not.
I do not. No, I mean, you know, I think that's exactly right. He really, really works for it. He had a great, you know, I was talking to him, and I just ask him questions all the time. Same with Bay. And when I said, "Well, how do you keep doing this?" I mean, Transformers is 197 days of production. It's just ridiculous. You know, you wake up and it says day 41 of 197. I said, "How do you do that?" And he just kind of looked at me and he paused and he just said, "You know, whatever it takes, just keep going. Just whatever it takes."
And then he does.
Get it done. And I thought that was interesting because he wasn't saying like, "Well, you got to do whatever it takes." He just said, "This is the mission. Whatever it takes to be that movie star for America." Because, you know, there's like 5 or 6 spots that are occupied by those action stars.
Yeah, the
and
elite.
I said to him, I swear to God, if he ever hears that, this will be the last time I talk to him. But I said to him, he was teasing us because there are 2 comedians on the movie. He said, "Well, you know, you comedians, you guys are always competitive, I bet, right? You're always kind of trying to one-up each other." So, no, I think that's, you know, that's that's something that people think, but it actually isn't the case.
Right.
Comedians are pretty supportive of each other. I said, "What about you? Are you pretty competitive with the other action stars?" And he goes, "I wouldn't know. I don't talk to him." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, really? Yeah. You down?" He's like, "Why would I talk to him? Matt Damon's over there French kissing Michael Douglas. Johnny Depp's always in makeup. What the F would I have to talk to him about?" I thought that was pretty badass.
That is pretty badass.
If you want to know the truth, I mean, that is really, you're saying Matt Damon. Dude,
Yeah.
quit putting on mascara, and then I'll give you a call.
And he's a smaller guy. He's obviously jacked, but he just has that. He projects that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to fight him. You know,
No.
I said to him, I goes to The Fighter, because I love that movie. He said, "Yeah, you know, it got greenlit, and then and they didn't want to do it, and then it was a different director and all this stuff." And he said, "But you know, I kept training," and I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah, I just kept training until the movie happened." And I was like, "You mean boxing?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "How long were you boxing?" He goes, "About 3.5 years." I He's like, I will never fight you. And his response kind of was like, yeah, of course not. I would kill you.
Yeah, and he would. But you talk about his ethic, his work ethic. You, even though you project this sort of slackerish, for lack of a better term, adjective.
Yeah, Preston, I know.
Yeah. But you're very driven. You were born in Denver?
Yeah.
All right. And then, but in short order.
I live in California.
Right.
So I smoke marijuana. And we talked about this. That's the green rush. In Colorado, we made $88 billion the first year and a half off of tax revenue alone from marijuana. More dispensaries than Starbucks.
How many people flipped their businesses and went into the pot trade?
Well, my father used to be an attorney, and now he's just selling weed out of the garage. I mean, I think a fair amount. But if every state legalized, we would just have hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well,
and that's the only economic weapon we have against our enemies in the East.
Yeah. It's an interesting point of it. I was in Colorado last week.
Too real. There's two people listening. They're like, "Whoa,
wow!"
Every other strip mall in Denver and Fort Collins has a marijuana dispensary now.
You said you were there, right?
I was there last week. And here's the thing. Yes, there's a lot of money to be made, but there will be a glut at some point. So it'll be interesting to see if like a Starbucks of marijuana dispensaries develops. Will there be a chain? Because it's so successful right now, everybody's trying to get on board with it.
So, but you live in California, but you still have to, do you still have to have a card?
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, it's a medical. I don't, I smoke medicinal marijuana. It's a prescription for anxiety.
Okay. Yeah.
Primarily anxiety by getting arrested for marijuana. And it has cleared that right up. You have to have a card. But again, it's the tax revenue is just crazy. And we need that sort of boost. And yeah, there's going to be a Philip Morris of course, but I'd rather they tax it and regulate it. Because that's the other weird thing about marijuana is, I smoked, I went into a dispensary and I said, what's your strongest sativa? Because I smoke marijuana, so I know how to handle
all the stuff.
Yeah, and the girl goes, it's this thing called XJ299. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Yeah. And so, she packs it up and staples the paper bag and hands it over to me. She goes, this is a very strong sativa. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, great. And I will not forget this, as you'll understand in just a second. But I reached to grab the bag, and she kind of held on to it.
Okay.
Right, as I'm tugging. That weird little move where you're like... And
do you really understand?
She goes, this is a very strong sativa. And what I forgot was that the people that work at these places, all they do, it's their job to smoke marijuana and know. So she smokes marijuana all the time. She's telling me, this is such a strong sativa that I'm going to hold on to the bag to make it clear to you. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, I smoke. Okay, yeah. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's a pretty strong sativa. 4 days later, after having smoked it just once or twice, I was still high. I didn't know where I was. I had to go to work the next day. It was one of those, I was so high that I would walk around my house and look at things in the house and go, did I buy that? Is that supposed to be here? My wife, Kate was like, on the third day, she's like, I think you need to go and eat Indian food until you're sober. And, buddy, I tried. 3 hours in, I realized I was in a Pizza Hut. I said, your curry tastes like pepperoni.
If you happen to be
Which is also my tagline at the Trocadero tonight.
Joining us,
your curry tastes like pepperoni.
TJ Miller's here, and he is playing the Troc tonight and tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow night's show is sold out, but you can get tickets at thetroc.com.
Seats are going fast.
So don't come tomorrow night and feel disappointed. Come tonight.
Yeah. For those, there may be some people listening who may not know the name TJ Miller, but are certainly recognizing your voice. Because number one, you've done a lot of character stuff, including Big Hero 6, which was awesome, and
the greatest, right?
How to Train Your Dragon, and a few other things.
Also, a great film.
Have
All the best films I've been in do not contain my face.
Cloverfield, for the most part, was just your voice.
Yeah, Unstoppable.
Most part was your voice.
And Unstoppable. Yeah, I was talking in that one.
You're talking in that one.
Your voice, you are so distinctive with your voice. Has there been anybody that's thrown an impression at you, a TJ Miller impression?
No, but there's a great story because it is a recognizable voice, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I am the voice of the Mucinex Man.
You are
the Mucinex
Man. Wow,
you think the big bucks come from? The booger. His name is Mr. Mucus. I'm a snot celebrity.
Thank you.
Are you screwing with us? Is this true?
No, that's
you
right.
are the Mucinex, the big
What a
blob of
weird
snot.
thing to lie and brag about. I'm the Mucinex guy.
This is
you guys.
Snot's very big.
Women have already started lining up outside of the building. They just turn their car. U-turns are happening right now. Get here! But I was in a grocery store. Or it was,
Yeah.
And I'm shopping, and this woman kind of comes into the aisle, and she's sort of looking at me, and I'm like, oh, okay. She really just is like staring at me. And I'm kind of, hanging out, and then I get a phone call. I start talking on the phone, and then I hang up, and she goes, I knew it. And I go, what? She's like, I knew it. I was like, you knew what? She's like, I heard you in the other aisle. And I heard your voice, and I thought it might be you. And I was like, yeah, it's me. Hey, how are you? She goes, and I was buying Mucinex. I mean, that is, can you imagine the insanity of picking out, and you're like, oh, Mucinex or Mucinex DM, and you just hear me going, hello? So she just
seriously?
round to the corner.
Where do you think you're going?
And there I am.
Work with you? It's Taco Tuesday.
You're not coming. I took Mucinex to help get rid of my mucousy congestion.
Oh, right. Then I'll swing by in like 4 hours. Just set aside a few tacos for me.
Forget the tacos. One pill lasts 12 hours. I'm good all day.
Your loss. I was going to wear a sombrero.
There you go,
Dude,
Mr. Mucus.
I never even made that connection.
No.
I didn't expect you to. I couldn't believe that she made the connection.
Yeah, God.
TJ, I love Big Hero 6. I think everybody in the room does. And I didn't know until recently that there's a hidden scene, an extra scene with you and Stan Lee at the end of the movie after the credits. Yeah. I got the DVD. Did you get to work with them, or were they separate rooms, separate recordings?
It's always separate rooms. Yeah. That's the only thing about... the real collaborators in an animated film are the animators, because they kind of get all the components and then they decide how the characters interact. But no, I didn't. But then, in a different movie...
You're looking around the room.
No, never mind.
Deadpool?
Yeah, come on, go ahead.
You can tell us. Is it Deadpool?
No,
If
definitely
you can get
not.
us on TMZ.
Absolutely not. If you can get us on TMZ. That's okay. All I need to do is put my you-know-what in a coconut donut. No, but I met him on I met him at a separate event, and he's just the nicest guy. And it's weird because he's, he must be in his 70s, late 70s, and he is kind of so quick that you realize, that's where all this stuff comes from. This is the mind. But even at that age, I mean, he is joking with you and making fun of you, and he had a spider bite me and nothing happened.
Speaking of Big Hero 6 and this part of the movie, my kids just died laughing at. We asked you gave us a call a few months back, and I asked you about this, but this was all improv, but I got to play this because this was awesome as Fred.
Fred's Angels.
Yeah, that was all.
Fred's Angels. Harnessing the power of the sun with the ancient amulet they found in the attic. The amulet is green. It's probably an emerald.
Fred, I will laser hand you in the face.
What's weird is the full version of that song, which was improvised, is like 2.5 minutes.
Oh, you just kept going?
It was ridiculous. Yeah. It got into it's either an emerald or a big green stone, but either way, the powers are from the attic. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. And, when they were kind of finishing the final cut, because we only saw, they show the animatics, which is kind of half done animation.
Yeah.
And they show that to a test audience, just one. And John Lasseter is there and all the producers, Roy Connolly, everybody. And they see it, and then they don't focus test it again. If they feel like people are getting it, they just finish the project. And once they were almost done with the final cut, the director, Don Hall, said to me, he goes, I think we're going to get that song in. Wow. I was like, what? And he's like, that song that you kind of made up, the Fred's Angels thing? I think we're going to put that in the movie. And I remember thinking, no, you're not. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. It didn't make any sense at all. It was we were just laughing and joking around about it. And then I saw it at the premiere. And I came up to Don Hall, I go, that's ridiculous. I can't believe you put that song in the movie, because I know, can you believe it?
That's why they're so good,
funny,
though.
But it was so funny to hear the director of this Disney movie be like, look what we got away with. You know the joke about, the clouds, and so the animators put in the secret stuff. But I felt that might be the case, because he was like, can you believe we got away with it? And I love that. Just people in China are like, Fred's Angel.
That's awesome. And we were just talking to the director on Inside Out, right? And he was talking about they were in San Francisco and the bear joke.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they sneak that stuff in all the time, but it's Big Hero 6. Any plans for a sequel, since it is part of an ongoing series, right?
Well, it was, and it was the third highest grossing film in Disney's history. Wow. First being Frozen, and then can you guys guess what the second one was?
Was it Lion King?
Yeah, right away.
Nice.
And then so they I
was surprised. I knew that I would enjoy. I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. And Preston saw it, I think, before any of us, and he was going on and on about your character.
Yep.
But I have a son, by the way.
And here we go, trying to muscle in on your territory.
And I have 2 daughters.
That just canceled the first thing.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also want to talk to you about Silicon Valley, which, it hit the ground running first episode. That ensemble is just so great. And I hope that you guys like each other as much off air or, outside of, when the cameras are rolling, because you guys are just so great together.
Yeah, we don't care for each other.
There you go.
Well, I want to back up, because I do want to say, first of all, How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2 are fantastic. But I also urge everybody to watch Big Hero 6, because it's a nearly perfect piece of cinema. It's just so funny, it's so dynamic, and it's the first Disney movie, I was really proud to be part of this, where the characters talk to each other about death.
Yes.
That really, there's always death in Disney, and when you work at Disney, you're it's like a cult. You slowly become indoctrinated. No, I think it's indoctrinated. And so it's important for them to talk about death, because that's such a big part of life. But in this one, the parents are already dead, and they're talking about the death of a brother. It's really, really, really a great film. And then Silicon Valley, I curse a lot in that. I'm just cussing left and right. So it's so funny to play this, Fred, from Fred's Angels and in this Disney movie. And then right afterwards, just to go to work at Silicon Valley and be paid to just say every piece of filth.
Did you have to lobby Mike Judge for because you worked in Extract?
I was in Extract. That's right.
Right.
No, they actually. I was in a show called The Goodwin Games, which was canceled before it aired. Always a good sign in your career.
Very fulfilling.
It's so fulfilling. And so that got canceled. I said, well, that's it. I'm not doing, because I had produced a show for Comedy Central called Mashup. I said, well, I'm not going to, from now on, I need to be producing. I want to get the call from the network, and then I'll call the actors, rather than be the one receiving that call. And then they said, Mike Judge is doing this show, and his writing partners, Altshuler and Krinsky, they really want you to audition. I said, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. And they said, well, they really would like you to do it. And then I looked at the sides, and they weren't very funny. And then Mike had written that I was supposed to be this short, squat, fat guy with glasses and a ponytail. And I was like, well, I can do 3 out of 5 of those. I can't do short, but I can do toddler-bodied.
Right.
And so luckily, I said, all right, well, because it's Mike Judge. And I thought, here's what I thought. I thought, well, at the very least, if I get it, then we'll do the pilot, and that'll just be a good amount of acting, sort of, just practice, just reps. And then it got picked up, and I thought, well, there's no way people don't care about Silicon Valley. I mean, this is such a weird niche market. There's nothing on television about it. And then it got picked up, and I said, well, okay, well, at least this season, I'll be acting. Because I really do believe, I'm not particularly talented, but I've worked harder than any of my peers. And so, yeah, you can be successful if you just work hard. You don't need really talent, and you don't have to have to have a well-shaped lower torso, obviously. And so thank goodness, because people really, really respond to the show, and they like it. And every single time I'm in an airport, someone approaches me and they go, I just want to tell you, Silicon Valley, I think it's such a funny show, but also, I have a cousin who has a wife whose son is in tech. He's actually in a startup. I just want to tell you, it's from her. I mean, it's from him. He told her, and she actually told my cousin, and then he emailed me. And I just want to tell you, that show is right on. It's always like they're the first one. Hey, you know what? Hey, straight from the horse's mouth. You guys got it right.
Well, Judge himself worked in the industry, so he knows, right? That's why it's so authentic.
He's one of those guys. Kate and I went up there and we shot guns at his ranch. He's just such a bizarre. But so we're at his house in Texas, and in Elgin, which has the best sausage in Texas. It was what's on the sign when you enter the city. Town. Can you imagine that? Great sausage. You're like, turning around. And so we went shooting there, and then he had a piano in his house, and we said, "Oh, do you play the piano?" And he said, "Yeah, I play a little piano." And he sat down, and he played the most beautiful concerto. You just couldn't believe it. You really were watching a mind that can do everything. At all.
Is he Mensa? He's a Mensa dude, isn't he?
I think it's that level, and it's very quiet. He sort of he'll come in his direction. It's like, that was pretty good. Yeah. Do that again. It really, he does sound like Butthead from BBC Butthead. Wow. But we're watching him play this beautiful concerto, and then he finishes, and Kate said, "Who was that? Who was that you just played?" He goes, "I don't know. That's just something I made that up."
An original composition.
Yeah, and I don't even. It felt like he didn't say anything, but it felt like he just kind of played it wasn't like something he'd written for a. But that's his deal. And he's also, as an animator, he's not an extrovert. So he's much quieter than you would expect. And when he does talk, there's a real, he's very terse. He'll tell you only the words. And he's a little shy.
Yeah.
When we're out in public, he can be a little more shy. But just couldn't be a nicer guy and a good laugher. A lot of directors. There's another guy who directs on the show, and he's not a great laugher, and they feel like if they laugh, then they're giving you the power, and then you won't respect them and listen to their direction. But to answer your question, we're all really good friends. I mean, and I've known Thomas Middleditch, who plays Richard, the protagonist. I've known him for over 10 years. Kumail, I've known for over 10 years. We both came up in the Chicago scene. Zach Woods, I almost did a movie with. He's the guy who plays Jared, the sort of tall, gaunt guy that looks like a virgin who's underfed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then Martin Starr I knew through some mutual friends, Jay Baruchel and Lizzie Kaplan. And, we all immediately friends. It's great. Zach Woods is so interesting because in the show, he plays kind of this, really kind of, feminine, scared, all that stuff. And then in real life, he's actually really feminine. One time I knocked on his trailer because I wanted to say, "Hey, would you... you want to go get lunch or something like that?" I knock his trailer and he opens it up. And I say, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "I don't want to tell you because you'll make fun of me." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "I'm not going to tell you because I know that you'll make fun of me." He said, "Well, now you got to tell me. What were you doing there?" He goes, "Oh, you promise you won't make fun of me?" And I was like, "No." And he said, I was in my trailer. It was all dark, and I had a yoga candle lit, and I was sitting cross-legged listening to the Indigo Girls. He's like, "You're not going to make fun of me, are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm walking away. I have to walk away." The Indigo Girls.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to jump in here, Nick. I have a really interesting question. I've never asked this in all my years of being in radio, but can I go to the bathroom real quick? I have to pee really bad.
Oh my God.
And I don't think we're done talking here for quite some time. Is that cool with you?
Oh, yeah, it's cool. What if it wasn't? I'm like, "Yeah, you piss your pants when I'm on the air." sir.
I'll be right back.
All right. Goodbye, Preston.
Do you think that has never happened in your history?
Never. I've been with him for 18 years.
No, he did it before.
Diarrhea.
Remember, we wanted to see if he could pee in the time that you do your Hollywood trash.
Yeah, but it wasn't during an interview.
No, it wasn't during an interview.
All right. Well, I want to ask you a question.
And that's okay. To be fair, all the listeners should know that I've been sort of forcing water on him the entire interview.
It's part of
him drink a gallon. Yeah, it's part. That's my motif. That's my thing.
Your insidious plan.
I wanted to ask you about the movie Extract. You mentioned it before, and I love that movie. I thought it was really well done, and it was not seen by a ton of people. It sort of flew under the radar, but Mike Judge obviously is great in it. You're awesome in it. Jason Bateman and Mila Kunis. And I wonder why movies like that, and maybe you have an answer, and maybe you don't, but why movies that are that good don't find a bigger audience sometimes?
Well, you know that seems to be the case with some of Mike Judge's stuff. I feel like as a satirist, right, because he really is doing satire, even with Beavis and Butthead, he kind of is just a bit ahead of the curve. But we did this panel on Silicon Valley, and this moderator.
Right.
This moderator, this poor kid, he's in a button-down blue shirt. You can tell he's really excited. This is his moment to talk to Mike Judge, and everybody. I'm nervous talking to him sometimes. And this poor kid, he's like, "So, Mike, you've had a lot of projects like Office Space and Extract that kind of didn't really do well when they first came out, but then they sort of found an audience. What is it like with Silicon Valley to sort of experience that success in real time?" And Mike and I both, and I said something, but Mike is like, "Are you asking me? Are you saying usually I'm a failure? And what's it like to be successful?"
Well, let me ask you.
This kid turned bright red.
Oh my God!
God,
all right, so there's
so
the thing that I love about Silicon Valley. It's the same reason why I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is you fall in love with this gang.
Danny DeVito's in it.
Well, that too, but they never win. At the end of the episode, they don't win. I think in all of the seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they won one time, and that was
a flip cup
thing.
I remember that one. Yeah.
But you guys you're always losing, and it's just so wonderful.
And Casey, it's very telling about your personality that you end a television show like, yes, they failed again. You and Mike Judge should talk about his early career. I think. One of the reasons that it's successful, I hope, is that on HBO there's a really thick narrative for a comedy. So it really is a story, and you're watching a story unfold, and that really is that's what HBO is about right now, right? Game of Thrones and Veep and all these things. They sort of follow a really dense storyline, and they can't win. I talked to Elon Musk. And I didn't know who he was. He came to a premiere at in Silicon Valley. Really,
Mr. Tesla.
Mr. Tesla. And I said, I didn't know who he was, but he walked up. He said, I think that's what's very funny. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. He's like, you are very, very funny. And I said, oh, thanks. And do you work in Silicon Valley? And he's like, yes. And I said, well, what did you think about it? Did you think it was real? Was it true to life? And he goes, well, I like to think in Silicon Valley they would give him the check. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, no, I know that's not very funny. And I was like, no, it's not. But what I'm asking is, like, is it real enough? Like, would you do the show?
Right.
And he's like, no. I was like, okay, then it is. It's definitely too real.
Right.
You don't want to get close. He said, okay. And somebody said to me afterwards, they go, you know who that was, right? And I said, no. They go, that was Elon Musk. And I was like, really? Who is that? and they were like Tesla, Mr. Tesla. And I was like, okay. And what is this?
And what is that?
But he really. And then somebody came over to us and they go, can I take a picture? And he was like, sure. And she goes, no. Would you take the picture of TJ and I? Oh. And I've never seen a billionaire about to cry. that was that moment.
I need to ask about Deadpool. Okay, so Big Hero 6 is a connection.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
It's going to be huge. I mean, as fans of the genre, which we are mega, and fans of that character as well, this is going to be a big movie, man.
Well,
and the trailer looks great.
Yeah, and that's what we hope. It's overwhelming how many people sort of have been excited about this, but it's weird. It's its own thing. Even if you don't like comic book movies, it's R-rated, right? There's nothing like that. Yeah. It's a character who exists in the present, breaks the fourth wall, will look into the camera. Mm-hmm. It is completely different than Captain America and Iron Man and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and so. And it really is a movie for the fans, but by the fans, because they leaked that test footage.
And that took off.
Yeah, the fans demanded it. And so you could feel that, like at Comic-Con. People really were like, we made this movie happen. So, I'm hoping that people really like it. That's the weird thing. I've never been in a movie where I cared about the acting. And I didn't for this one either, but there was that moment where I go, now hold on a second. So this guy Weasel, people know this character. So
Weasel provides the weapons to Deadpool.
And how do I stay true to people's imagination of the character? And the director said something really great. He goes, if you spend your time doing that, you might as well just be, writing the comic or illustrating for the comic, because this is a movie,
Right.
So make it your own.
Yeah, you got to be your own sort of thing. So I try to do that, but it's one of those movies, that character I would love to play. Anyone like the Joker would love to play Deadpool, but Ryan Reynolds is just suited for it. I mean, the way he talks, all that's, it's just perfect. He's just a motor mouth in real life, and that's the Merc with the mouth.
Did you improvise in the trailer? It's just the home run. It's the money shot where you're describing how he looks.
The money shot.
Yeah,
it's the one where you ejaculate.
That sequence. Yeah,
that sequence. It's a sequence of ejaculations.
Did you improvise?
We can't say that word.
You can't.
One time maybe. I know.
Money shot's fine. The other word, the E word. Apparently,
the scientifically correct word is.
I think there's about 500 people right now that are like, "What is that E word?"
I know.
The FCC is like, "Don't use it," because we don't even know what it means.
Say electrocute.
Yeah, no, I absolutely electrocuted all over her face, and she wasn't happy about it. But she didn't know what it meant. I said it just means I'm excited. She said, "Well, we're going to have to bleep that from my memory."
Thank you.
I mean, it's.
He was asking if that line was ad lib. The
sequence.
So much of it is improvised.
Okay.
I mean, again, I not a great actor, but when they do hire me, they hire me sort of with the knowledge that I'm going to improvise and try and elevate the material. A lot of times, for instance, with Deadpool, those screenwriters had such a great script that it was already a foundation. I didn't need to necessarily elevate the material, but I tried to. And the way that I did that was in the trailer saying, "You look like Freddy Krueger." Eid all over the topographical map of Omaha or something. Utah, and
face after or something.
And so and I think a big part of that was that they kind of let us do our own thing. And
well, the fact
Ryan
that they committed
was really
to it,
good about that too. Yeah, and they did.
They committed to an R. I remember that first teaser. They got everyone going out of their minds. Is when they basically released that short little teaser that said, and he's cursing, and we're going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I respect is they didn't sort of do it to do it. It felt like even in something like American Pie, they just were, we've got an R rating, so let's just be the most disgusting we can. And that was not the point of this. And you guys are playing it right here, but there's a lot of, it's much more about blood. It's not raunchy. It's just the violence that you should be seeing in these other movies, but you can't because they need it to be 4-quadrant, for the kids and everything, is really present in this, and that's great too because he's also an anti-hero, and that's so rare that we see a comic book character that you don't know if you should be rooting for him or against him.
A flawed character.
Again, like the Joker.
And the Suicide Squad. Are you? Did you see The Kingsman?
Yes.
Yeah, that great movie.
I love that. That's one of the few things Kate really like. She fell asleep, but she really wants to finish it. That was great, and that perfectly played the tone of we know what we are, but we're still going to do it the best that we can do it.
Yep.
And I think Deadpool's got a little bit of that.
Cool. This is odd. I had a text come in, and somebody said, "Oh my God, I just made the connection with his voice." Was he on the train yesterday? Some weird guy walked by me making his suitcase say "chugga chugga choo choo," and as he got off the train, he looked at me and said, and I said, "Ooh, creep!" But it was this guy's voice. Was that you?
I mean, no, I said chugga chugga woo woo. No. Not chugga chugga choo choo. Yeah. I mean, how wasted is this person? Your friends are drunk before 11? Come on, guys.
Okay, I guess
we really are in Philadelphia. Yeah. We're staying. It's so fun because the Trocadero. We, tomorrow night's show sold out. Tonight, still some tickets, and we were so lucky that I got to add on the show because I love Philadelphia, but I've never stayed here longer than 24 hours.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, only been here for like one full day. But one of those days, I ate Philly cheesesteaks 3 times.
Of course.
In 24 hours. And I know in Philadelphia, you guys probably don't eat a lot of cheesesteaks. That's not a big part of it. I don't eat as many cheesesteaks anymore because 3 of them made my body kind of make it explicitly clear to me that I was sort of eating diarrhea. So it's sort of a backwards I was electrocuting from, it was a bad situation.
I didn't even know those.
But I tried all 3, right? There's Pat's, and then there's
Geno's,
right? I did Geno's, and then what is it, Chubby's?
Oh, Chubby's.
Chubby's is
Ridge.
Okay.
That's Henry, yeah.
Chubby's has my favorite chicken cheesesteak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that, but that, I sort of traveled. I mean, I know Geno's and Pat's, I think, are pretty close to each other. Yeah, they're right next to each other. Well, but I sort of traveled to Chubby's, and I thought they were, it was really, I mean, it's delicious.
Yeah.
But now when you eat it, as you're eating it, you're like, this is going to be, you really got to enjoy it.
Well, now you have to go to Reading Terminal Market and go to DeNick's because they have their, I think it was the roast pork was voted the best sandwich in America.
That's right.
Really? By who? Just the general manager? It's just that
It was closed for voting.
But you could tell you guys live in Philadelphia because you're kind of going, oh, you got to try the chicken cheese blue cordon, and all that stuff. Meanwhile, everybody from Delaware comes in here and is like, I want wit onions and wit cheese. Also, they give you the option of having cheese on your cheesesteak. Isn't that part of the? Yeah. Do you just go in there and say, I'll have a steak? And
I do.
I want mine not wit cheese, no onions, and no meat. Just give me a bun and tell me to leave.
Sometimes I'll do it without cheese, I have to say.
Really?
I know, yeah, it's kind of weird. But
that is really weird. Yeah, but, look, it takes all kinds. Obviously, you...
I'm a square.
Yeah, you're a square.
TJ, it seems to me like a...
Preston the party.
Philly's a perfect fit for you, that our sensibilities fit your style of comedy. Do you find places around the country that don't?
Yeah, I mean, some of my comedy is a little absurdist and ridiculous. Even last night in Baltimore, at one point I sort of took pause and I said to them, I go, this isn't exactly what you guys were expecting, was it? And I think one guy was like, no. And I just surmised, I was like, I hope that wasn't a response to me, but you got like a really bad text. And you're like, no!
What should people expect then?
Philadelphia is a lot, it's a big city, it's progressive, you kind of got a big swath of different demographics.
There's a lot of universities here,
exactly, right.
Very swathy.
Very swathy, swarthy, lots of cheese whiz, and but I like Philadelphia. It's it's not as racist as Boston.
We're working on it.
And you missed it.
You guys are working on it. We're doing the best we can these days. No, but it's always nice to come to like a big city, and I get along with the East Coast because they're a little bit edgier. But I'll go to. It's weird though. I'll go to Omaha. And I'm thinking, Omaha, boy, these, they're not going to. And then they're a totally hip, awesome city. Same with Tulsa or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a tough time in, I don't know, Charleston or someplace where you're like, I bet people are really nice, not into it. The worst set recently was in Myrtle Beach. And at the Comedy Cabana. And I went there, and it was my first time at the club. And I was bombing. I mean, really badly. Like the bombing where you do consider on stage, you're like, I could just quit now. And get back and have wine sooner in the hotel room. And I was just doing so badly. And I looked over at this middle-aged woman, and I wanted to say, she just hadn't laughed at all. I mean, she's just not even, not even a smile. Just, you can feel that you're slowly ruining her night. And so I tried to ingratiate myself to her. So I turned to her and I go, hey, I haven't gotten you yet, but I will. And she just tapped her watch so loudly.
Wow.
That glasses vibrated. And she went, You got 15 minutes.
Oh, man.
And I was so depressed.
Wow.
And then I pulled out all the big guns, the best stuff that I could do, and she didn't laugh at all. And then at the end, I said goodnight, and I looked over at her, and she gave me this look like, you son of a bitch. Like, you really did ruin it, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So that was one where... I don't know if you've ever been so depressed that you drive to a strip club, but you don't go in. But that's where I was. I just sat in the car outside of a strip club and continually thought I've made a bad decision with my vocation. My choice of career was wrong. I can't even talk to Cinnamon about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really did. I called Kate. I go, I'm outside a strip club. I can't even go in. She's like, go in, for God's sake. Do something about it. Can you imagine? I couldn't even give someone money and hear about how they have a kid.
That's low.
This city.
That's great.
Is it just? Is it you and Nick tonight?
Yeah, no. So it's Nick opens, and which is really lucky, and that's why come tonight. It's at the Troc, and
Case was going on. He's checking out some of the material. We found out late that he was intended to be part of the
he's
show
been
tonight.
on the Fallon Tonight Show.
Fallon and Conan. He's a headliner in his own right, and so it's very nice of him to come and perform with us. And then Kate sings a couple songs in the beginning, so it really is kind of a full show.
Nice.
And that's what's great, for a theater, especially like the Troc, and we did the Wilbur in Boston, which is over 100 years old.
Yeah, I saw Dave Attell there. It's a great theater.
Yeah, it is a great theater, isn't it? And so we try to really make it a show, and it really is a show. And then Nick and I kind of do some, because we've known each other for over 10 years. Also, we do some sort of sketch that kind of weaves in and out of the thing. So it really is a show. You're not going to see stand up that you could see at a club or anything.
No, and that's suitable. The Troc is just a great old venue.
I've never been there.
You're gonna love it.
So excited.
Yeah.
Tonight there
I heard it's really hard to pronounce.
Trocadero.
Trocadero.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Ejaculation.
Oh God!
We can give him that one.
Well, we'll find out.
And that's it. And that was it. And that was the last time he was on radio in Philadelphia.
There are some tickets remaining for tonight.
I never heard from him again.
Tomorrow is sold out, and you can go to thetroc.com.
But I just saw him drunk underneath the Liberty Bell.
Outside
3 days
club.
later. Right, exactly. Crying, saying, I couldn't afford the cover.
TJ, thank you for coming by.
Thank you guys.
We are big fans. We've been looking forward to this for a while.
Well, this is really
absolutely
fun. Yeah, you guys, and Preston, I mean, you couldn't be more high. And Steve, Steve is drinking mineral water, and he's just, he's on a Soloflex right now.
I am, exactly.
Which is a great 1980s reference that most of your listeners are like,
what was
no
that?
thanks.
What was it?
Soloflex,
Fit? Wasn't that the?
I don't know, but it was
the rubber bands.
No, that's Nordic Track.
Nordic Track. That's what I was thinking of.
Soloflex was rubber bands.
Soloflex was rubber bands. Yeah, you're right.
And Bowflex was employing the technology perfected by the American Indian, the bending of the bow.
Yes, Steve, I don't think you're a square at all. He knows all the flexes. No. Soloflex was the rubber bands, and then Boaflex was the bows.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Ejaculate Flex was the one where you had to really, bleep it all out.
Though that would be the best exercise.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that was the second time he was banned from radio in Philadelphia.
Ladies and gentlemen, TJ Miller. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Come see us tonight at the Trocadero.